Hey, what's up, guys? Got another little ride here. I wanted to talk about stuff other than riding today. Um, this was the only ride I did all week because they called us out Friday and Saturday morning, and by Saturday afternoon I wasn't feeling it, so I only got out today out of 7 days of the week. And I didn't feel as shitty as I thought I would feel, which is good. We're in Lyons here. We're going up Route 7 or South St. Vrain, whatever you want to call it. Doing this again. I've got the same gear limit that I did last time. And anyways, there was a lot of wind Friday. It was Thursday night and pretty much all of Friday. So they called us out, and we worked in this town mostly. They were having a lot of wind, 100-mile-an-hour gusts. So it's like a freaking tornado came through here. Yeah, but you can't really see too much. They've cleaned up a lot of the crap. There was shit all over the road. There's still like a little bit of stuff, but it's mostly cleaned up now. We were just doing tree work, protecting the power lines, whatever. Nothing too important, I guess. Just keeping people's power on and getting $18 an hour for it. When King Soopers workers get the same pay for just dropping groceries into bags. Which leads me to the main topic of the day. I'm fixing to go to California for a month. I've been telling these bosses since the springtime, and boss after boss either got fired or left. So I told our latest boss about a month ago, hey, I've been telling you guys about this since the springtime. This is what's going on. I'm going whether you like it or not. And he's like, okay, fine. So I'm going to California for most of the month of January. And I'm starting to think that maybe I won't come back when I'm supposed to. I've decided, after going back and forth in my head about either just coming back when I'm supposed to or just not and quitting, I've decided I'm going to demand a raise, which is well overdue. I've actually been promised 2 raises in the year and a half that I've worked here, and I haven't gotten either of them, one of which was promised to be retroactive. Yeah, it's a big old joke. But I get 18, and my so-called boss, who I actually lead because he's an imbecile, he gets 23 an hour. So I'm going to tell them, because I don't need these people, I'm going to tell them, give me at least, I need to look at what I get paid exactly. It's either $18.25 or $18.50. I'm going to tell them it's either going to be $2.50 raise, or $21 an hour. At least $21 an hour is what I want. I'm going to tell them, this is what I want. If you're not going to give it to me, I'm not coming back. And, I mean, either they give it to me or they don't. If they can afford to pay this retard $23 an hour to take 2-hour lunches and 40-minute breaks and take 3 hours on a small tree every day, then they can afford to pay me, who actually does work, at least $21 an hour. Otherwise, I can just go work at a fucking grocery store, because I get paid the same as the high school kids at the grocery store. And I'm keeping people's power on by climbing fucking trees. Like, doesn't it? Like, that's a little ridiculous, don't you think? And, this job is in the way of me really improving in cycling, which is the main issue I'm having. $18 an hour, and I can only get so strong. But yeah, I'm gonna go to California, and I'm gonna figure out exactly what I get paid before I go, and then a week out, I'm gonna call up one of our bosses, any of them, our temporary bosses, so-called bosses, whatever, and I'm gonna tell them, listen, I'm not gonna argue with you. I want this much more, or I'm not coming back. Don't I don't want to talk about it. Just text me your answer. If I don't get a text by this date, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna consider it a no, a refusal. You can't give me what I want, so I'm not coming back. And I'll just stay in California for an extra month, get some better training in, and then I'll come back and I'll look for a little grocery store job. Something basic. It's no difference, from what I get. The difference will be the hours. I'm looking for 24 hours instead of 40 plus hours a week. The idea is I'll get 4 6-hour shifts, which leaves plenty of time at the end of any day, regardless of the season. Plenty of daylight left for either a ride or a better training session or whatever. And I'll still have 3 full days off a week. Or, I'll tell them, I want 3 or 4 days a week, 24 hours a week. Or it could be 3 8-hour shifts. Even at 3 8-hour shifts, that's still 2 hours more than I get after a shift than I do now. And it's only 3 days a week. So, yeah, so that's what's going on. I'm departing from this location in Colorado to California around the 5th of January. Depending on the weather, and then I'll be coming back just before February if they give me that raise. But if they don't give me a raise, I'm going to stay there for at least another month. It depends on it really doesn't depend. If the guy I'm staying with for the month of January wants $800 for that month, then I'll just be like, that's fine, I'll stay somewhere else. I have other places I can stay. But yeah, I think it's time. You only got your 20s for 10 years, right? And 10 years is only not even 10% of most people's life. And your 20s are your prime, your strength prime. That's the truth. So if I actually want to get good at cycling, I need to ditch this job, or at the very least, they need to give me a raise, and I'm only going to stay here until the next winter. But I'm not going to tell them that. I'm not going to be like, okay, you give me this much more money, which is apparently a lot for you guys. Even though you're paying the other guy this much, whatever. You either give me this much, or I don't stay. I'm not going to tell them, oh, you give me this big raise, and I'm only going to stay here for another year. They'll definitely not give it to me. They'll just be like, get out of here. So I'm going to play the cards I have. There's supposed to be 2 crews. The contract says 2 crews need to cover this city. So if I leave, they need to find another guy, or they're violating the contract. But they've done it plenty of times before for extended periods of time, so it doesn't really matter that much. But it is a pain in their ass, because then they start to get shit about it if I'm not showing up, because yeah, whatever. Alright, so that's the deal with work. Work is just a fuster cluck. My foreman, my so-called boss, foreman is like just the crew leader, 2 people in a truck, the foreman and the other guy. I'm apparently the other guy, even though I do most of the shit. So that's the issue. Anyways, so fuck this job. Unless they want to give me more money, I'm gonna go get an easier job and ride more. That's the plan. But as for the ride today, the weather is mid-50s again, like the last video. The wind, however, is it was kind of weird today. Going up in this section right here, it felt like a slight headwind again. And then I would say the wind kind of, it was just kind of weird. There were some sections where it was a tailwind for like a couple minutes, and then I would just get blasted by a headwind for like a couple minutes. So, yeah, the wind was kind of all over the place today on the way up. Like right here, it kind of felt like a headwind, which mean it would be, heading backwards, heading down the canyon as I'm going up. But on the way down in this spot, it felt like I had headwind again. And the grass was, bending the other way. And so I'm like, not sure what's going on. And, so the wind was all over the place. I'm not really sure if I want to call it a slight headwind all the way or a slight tailwind. I'm just going to say I don't fucking know. But I did an hour and 40 today on the segment. It felt like I was, I don't know. Yeah, the perceived effort is pretty much the same as the last video. I didn't even talk about my actual bike that much. The last video I talked about my kit. I'm riding a 2016 Merlin Performance PR7. That's the bike. That's pretty much the bike frame at this point. 21 pounds without the bottles, 25 with the bottles. Yeah, that's pretty much that. I have a subcompact, a 4834, and on the back I got 11 to 32. That's an 8-speed road bike, 10 years old. It is the original derailleur, so it's pretty impressive. The Shimano Claris from 2015, still going strong. I added a couple of songs to my my pony playlist recently, and yes, I am wearing the pink jersey again for the pink pony. Always pink. It's what it is. But I added a couple of songs to my my pony playlist recently. A couple of them are songs I've known for a while, but finally decided to put them on there. Let's see. Well, I put that Magic Inside from the show, and I put Time to Be Awesome. I put Honest Me by Leah Bobia. Not sure how I'm supposed to pronounce that, but I also put No Retreating by Electro Caplosion. It's supposed to be a Rainbow Dash song. It's pretty good. Like, they don't have, like, I'll just be honest, some of his songs sound super autistic, but they hit. They sound so good. It's the lyrics, and it's mostly just because there's a pony on the cover, the thumbnail or whatever. So now I like it. If it was some random song on the internet, I'd probably be like, yeah, I don't really care. But it's got a pony, so now I like it. And then Trusting You by, it's also by Leah Bobia. I thought that was, it's her, I guess her music name is, apparently it was Megaphoric and Jof the Loaf. Jof the Loaf is long gone off of YouTube, but his songs remain. His or her, whatever it is, I'm pretty sure it's a male. That's the voice, at least. Good songs. Good songs. Whenever I listen to, well, honestly, the newer the songs on my playlist, the more they hit. Older songs, they're just on there because I liked them at one point, and I still do, but they don't really rouse me up like they did when I first heard them. So I find more and more. And all these ones I added on here are all really old. But, doesn't matter how old they are if you first find them. Whenever you first find them, that's when it matters. So, after today, and it was really hard. I got to the top and I was dying, coughing. It's a good effort when you get to the top and you can barely breathe because you're coughing too much. You can't take a deep breath because you'll just start a coughing fit. And that's how it was today. And, just roll down easy. That's how I do it now. Roll down easy. Like I said in the beginning, I got the gears limited again. There's really no point in using any other gears, quite frankly, on this ride. The climb isn't steep enough to warrant going into the little ring. And it's good training. The lower torque, good for strength. But I do spin out a lot. I was probably doing 140 on the way back down Hygiene Road. I got in the aero position, just to get a little practice in. And, I was just spinning the hell out in third gear doing 25 miles an hour, which is like, that's way off the top of that gear. That's like, at least one, like, probably 2 gear, whatever. I don't know, spinning is good for training, like, your control, your stability. But at the same time, so is torque training or low cadence training. You go low torque, you kind of learn. It's hard to explain, I guess, but at high cadence, you kind of learn to relax. You kind of learn to. Yeah, it's good to do both of them. It's hard to explain how each one feels, but I feel good at high cadence. I feel good at low cadence. Well, by low, I mean no lower than 60. I don't go any lower than that, really. At least not regularly. Bike is still all sweaty. Still need to clean the chain tonight. I'm doing this recording a little bit differently. Before I saved the video and exported it, and then I watched the video and recorded while watching it, so it's matched up. But this time I still got the video edited, just not exported. That way I can save one export, which really only takes like an hour and a half with this computer. But I figured hour and a half is an hour and a half that it takes to clean the chain, so saving a little bit of time like that. I don't need the screen to be super big, so then I'll just throw this recording, slap it onto this file here, and then export it. I'm pretty smart, aren't I? Not. The fact that I did it the other way the first time. Well, as for the coming week, I have 2 more work weeks until I depart to California for Operation dominate California. Yeah, whatever. But this next week, we got our four work days. It's supposed to be over 60 degrees for the high every day of the work week. And then, of course, it'll drop down to 50 and 40s as soon as the weekend comes. So that's great. You just, waste the good weather on the work day, and then give me the shitty weather for my riding day. That's another problem with this 4-day shift. It's like a 4-day schedule. I say problem. Most people have 5 or 6 day schedule. I'm pretty spoiled, but I'm not spoiled. I worked for this shit. Okay. I'm sacrificing a lot by not working a lot. Okay. And that's the truth. I mean, I could be back in Texas living with some parents and working 50 plus hours a week on the same pay, mind you. In fact, a little bit more. And just, banking all that money. No rent, no utilities, nothing like that. But I'm out here where riding is supreme because that's what I actually care about. I don't care. A lot of people care about money. I don't give a shit about money. You can't make enough money in this day and age while also having a life to be able to afford a house and kids. And that's like, that's the ultimate goal for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, is to have a fucking family and a home of your own and children. Children are beautiful. I would love to have children. I would love to have my own family, but the reality is I either basically give up my life to work myself to death just to be able to be in a home. It doesn't matter how hard I work. I'm never going to own my home. The way these scam loans work. Like, I only recently realized that banks aren't charging you that interest rate as just like, boom, okay, and then here is all the payments split up. No, they're, I didn't really, I kept hearing it. Oh, it's compounding interest, right? And I didn't really realize what they were talking about, but now I do. I realize the longer your mortgage is, they just keep adding more money on. It's not like, I used to think, if the house is $200,000 and you give them a down payment of 20%, which is 1/5, so 40,000. You give them 40,000, and now what you owe is 160,000 on this $200,000 house. And the Fed has the interest rate at, let's just say 10% for simplicity. So that's $16,000 in interest, right? I would have thought, okay, in a straightforward world, you would be paying them, that it was 160,000 that you owe them, and the interest for the loan is 10%. So now it's $176,000. And I used to think, then they're just going to split that up into monthly payments over the course of 15 or 30 years, depending on what you get, your mortgage. No, it's, I still don't know exactly how it works, but I guess every pay period, they're adding 7% onto that. That doesn't make any sense. No, that doesn't add up. Whatever. The point is, it's just a scam. It's ridiculous. Nobody can own. If you get a loan with the bank, you don't own your house. I mean, if shit were to hit the fan, you do, because you're in it and you got your shit to defend it, but that's not the way things will hit the fan. Things are going to hit the fan by people getting poorer and poorer and dumber and crazier. Like ever so slowly. The frog, you drop the frog in in the pot of water and put the lid on there, and then you turn the heat on. The frog will be chilling until it's too late. But if you drop it into boiling water, it's going to try to jump out of that thing damn quick, because it realizes something's wrong. Well, the reality is most of our lives aren't bad enough to warrant a revolution or anything like that. So things are just going to get worse and worse until services stop working. And then shit'll change. Services stop working because people stop working because they're hungry and they're dying. That's how it'll hit the fan. It won't be the government sending out all the police officers to arrest everybody, and then all of a sudden everybody picks up their arms and fights, and then we win. No, it's not going to happen like that. I don't think it's ever happened like that in history. It's always been a slow collapse. But anyways, that's enough of my rambling. About what? I don't know. Bottom of the computer is really hot. Now I'm in a different room because I don't like people listening to me recording. And my room, the one I was just in, is right next to a staircase for the downstairs. And they can hear me clear as day because there's like a door right there that's just been locked. And I shoved a bunch of little microfiber cloth pieces into the cracks because they leave the light on all the time. So my bed faces that door because that's just how I have stuff set up. It's a small room. I mean, there's really no other way for me to set it up. You got windows on one side, which are freezing cold in the winter, so I don't want to have my bed right next to those. Then you got a door, my door, on one wall, and then you got the other door. So there's only one wall without shit on it, and that's where my bed is. And it faces that door to the stairs. They always leave the light on, and there's huge cracks around the door, so I shoved a bunch of rags in there. But that doesn't mean that it's soundproof. It just means that I don't have to see their bullshit light when I'm trying to go to bed. Anyway, I just moved to this room because somebody was walking up the stairs, and I want them hearing me talking to myself, is what it seems like. But now they're gone, so I'm going to go back into the comfort of my own room. There's nobody here upstairs, though, so all alone, nice and peaceful. Plug this laptop back in so it doesn't die on me. Doing all the work it's doing. Got these beige cliffs here. Haven't really been talking about the video much, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, there it is. There's the video. It was a little faster on the flatter sections in the middle of the climb today because that's when the wind basically wasn't there. There was like no wind, if only just a couple of gusts from the front. Yeah, it really just felt like a slight headwind on the bottom half of the climb, and then there were some stronger headwinds every now and then, but like I said, there was also random tailwind gusts too. So wind was just all over the place. Sometimes that makes it harder to pace, but I'm not that strong, so it's not like it really matters that much. Doing an hour up this climb is like you're not even on the leaderboard. The leaderboard is like 55 minutes and less. So need to cut. I mean, what is that? Something like maybe 9% off my time to even be on the leaderboard. 8-9%, something like that. But I wonder, like, what are people doing nowadays? My roommate works 6 or 7 days a week. My main roommate, and he has no money. He he's had 3 cars since I've moved into this place 5 months ago. Not even 5 months ago. August, September, October, November, December. Not even 5 months have I been here. And he's gone through. He's had 3 cars. Like, one of them, the engine was wrecked because they overfilled the oil apparently, and so all his seals got wrecked, and so then he bought another car, and but the cars he had before were fine. There was nothing wrong with it yet. Like, he's just kind of crazy with his money. Like, he works so much. He has no life. He just goes to work and he comes home and he sleeps. And for what? What is he? What do you like? Why are you doing that? He apparently gets $21 an hour, and he's working 6 7 days a week. So that's a lot of money, dude. At least 8 hours a day. And what does he have to show for it? Nothing. He's got these shitty cars. He lives in this shitty house with a bunch of roommates. He has no girlfriend, no kids, no family. He's not paying off a mortgage. He doesn't have any property anywhere. He has nothing, and he's working so much. I mean, he told me he was a drug addict before, so figures, but he's wasted all this money, and yeah, he's just a weirdo. And he loves marijuana, so I'm sure a lot of his money goes to that. But I don't smoke. I don't do any drugs. The only thing I drink is water and vegetable broth sometimes. But I've stopped buying that because he gave me a bunch of extra cans of vegetables, so no need for me to chug a quick broth of vegetable. Yeah, I'm just now this stupid overtime weekend is over. It's time to just hop on the tomorrow, Monday after work. I'm just gonna do a little bit of weights in the house when I get home, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Do a little bit of weights, get the legs a little sore. I like to do. I just have 2 15-pound dumbbells and 2 45-pound dumbbells. I gave up on the gym, paying for a membership, because these fools, they told me, oh, $250 for 6 months, and I was like, you know what, I can do that. And then I went in 2 weeks later because it was 2 weeks until my other gym membership expired. And then they said, oh, it's $350 for 6 months, and I'm like, you know what, screw you guys. I don't even fucking need you guys. Like, seriously? Why? And I figured it was because it was, just before winter. So they, maybe I just got that unlucky and they raised their price right before, right before I went in. But it's not that big of a deal because I'm doing just fine without them. So thanks for raising your price and convincing me not to get your membership, because it turns out I didn't need it anyway. So that saved me 350. Well, 250 it would have been. $250. So yeah, I got those two pairs of dumbbells. I do the same thing with both of them, the 15 and the 45s. I either do squats with them on my shoulder, or I just do deadlifts with them. If I'm feeling tired, or I just feel like I shouldn't do too much weight, I just use the 15s. But probably tomorrow I'll use the. I don't do deadlifts with the 45s just because they're dumbbells. It's like, I don't really need to do that with the 45s because it's 90 pounds with dumbbells. They're kind of uneven and stuff. I just do the deadlifts with the with the 215s, so 30 pounds. It's not that big of a deal. I already have thick legs. I don't really need, much thicker legs, and I don't want to. I don't want to be holding those 45s, building up my shoulders and my arms and stuff too much. Make myself heavier and slower. When I squat with the 45s, I just kind of lift them up and shoot them up onto my shoulders, and then I don't have to use my arms for them. Just rest them on my shoulders and do squats. Yeah, that's my gym. Just two pairs of dumbbells. So I'll do that tomorrow after work, and then it's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna have to do at least 30 minutes the next 2 or 3 days, depending on what they do with Christmas. They'll probably give us a day off Christmas. Hopefully they don't make us come in the following day. That'd be really stupid and annoying. I hate when they do that. Like, give us a day off. Oh, we got to go in the next day, and then we get the other days off. It's just give us all the days off. Just screw off. You know what I mean? It's annoying. That's what they did for Thanksgiving. They gave us 4 days off. We didn't have to make it up. Make it up. Oh my God. Yeah, whatever. So hopefully they just give us 4 days off. I didn't see what day of the week Christmas is on yet. If it is the 21st, 22 Monday, 23 Tuesday, 24, yeah, so it'll be on Thursday. It'll be the last day of the week. So hopefully they just give us the 4 days off. So I'll have a nice nice weekend after this shitty weekend to make up some miles, and I'll only have to be on the trainer for two evenings after work. I hate the trainer. I hate it so much. It's so boring. I'm not going to pay for Zwift. I'm not going to pay for their premium subscription for the trainer itself. Like, no, I'm not doing that shit. Just putting it on record and just pushing watts is good enough for me. As long as I'm on, my bike frame with my geometry and I can push and sweat, then it's fine. I'm not going to pay for all their bullshit. So, and really the only purpose of the trainer is to keep the legs alive, you know what I mean, through the work week, or at least help, because I haven't done 7-day week of riding yet since I've lived here. I've done 7 days of something, whether, and I've done a couple of 6-day weeks, but never 7 days of riding. Not with this job. Fuck no. If I were to get that 24-hour job, 7 days a week would be a lot more possible. 7 days is still pretty tough because, if you got to go into work for 6 or 8 hours, and I'm super picky about my bike being clean. I have to clean it after every ride. I won't ride it if it's dirty. So, I'll have to clean it and stuff. So even on a 6-hour workday, it's still kind of tight. You know what I mean, to go on a ride. But it'd be good just to go to Loveland and back. That's a 40-mile ride on the popular cyclist route. And that just takes 2 hours about. Just get aero, practice the aero position, and do a little spinning, do a little grinding in the aero position, practicing that. Do that after work on a 6-hour. If it's an 8-hour shift, probably just go home and probably just do an hour on the trainer, or even if it's just half an hour, that's better than what I usually do after work. Because at most, on the regular, I'm doing two 30 minutes after work with this job on the 10-hour shift, which isn't enough. It's really just maintenance between the weekends. But it would be a lot easier to do that on a 6 or 8-hour shift, obviously. So, that's the deal. So tomorrow, Monday after work, do a little weights, get the legs a little sore. And then Tuesday, Wednesday after work, 30 minutes on the trainer. Keep the legs alive, keep the legs in tune with the bike. And then hopefully we'll have a 4-day weekend, and I'll be able to make up some of those miles. Would be nice. And yeah, and then it should be a normal 4-day work week after that, and then I head to California, depending on the weather. After that 4-day work week, if it's supposed to be 20-degree highs and or snowing, then obviously, I'll just leave. I'll just leave on the Friday after the Thursday workday. I'll pack up the van after work, or unpack, because I got a bunch of shit in the van I don't need. Unpack some shit out of the van that night, and then get my shit ready. I'll be heading out from this area, and I'll probably be staying in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's going to be a 2-day drive. I figure I'll do most of the miles the first day, and then I'll have time after the second day of driving to unpack my stuff and find my bearings a little bit, instead of splitting it evenly and not having too much time at the end of the second day. So, yeah, it depends on the weather, but if the weather's nicer here, I'll do a 3-day weekend of riding, and then I'll leave, kind of fix myself up, after a work week, and then get in the car and drive for all those hours sitting down, you know what I mean? Instead of doing the whole work week and then sitting down for an extra 2 days, basically. That's kind of brutal. That's basically what happened. This week with this overtime crap. It was a 6-day work week, and it'll be effectively a 6-day work week as far as cycling is concerned in my fitness. If I have to leave Friday, but it is what it is. It'll be worth it when I get to California. And going from January 30-something degree highs to 60-degree highs in California, it'll be heaven. And if they don't want to give me that raise, then I'll be there for 2 months and get some good training in. Give myself a boost for the springtime here. I will come back in March. Start looking for a different job. So it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting stuff. I'm excited to... It's all about Pikes Peak, guys. Pikes Peak is the main event out here for me. That's what I'm training for. Pikes Peak. First year I did it was 2024. Last year I did an hour and 50 minutes. 50, an hour and 50 minutes. It's almost 2 hours for the 12.5 mile segment. This year I did an hour and 40 minutes. So I cut 10 minutes off my time. What I'm trying to do is cut another 10 minutes off, because that might seem like a lot, but really it isn't. Because when I first got here, I was riddled with all sorts of issues and just trying to figure stuff out. It was not consistent riding at all. It only really started getting super consistent in July of this year's summer. So I've only really been doing like really good miles the last like 6-7 months. When summer first came around this year, I got super shitty saddle issues, like chafing, some sort of skin infection, something like that. It just got really hot out of nowhere. We were doing transmission work, just sweating our asses off, and then I would get on the bike and tear up the skin even more. So I basically didn't ride for like a whole month. It was like hardly any miles. Like one effective ride a week, hardly any miles. No more than 40. And that was just before Pikes Peak, and yet I still did 10 minutes faster than the previous year. And then in winter, I basically didn't ride for 2 months after the first Pikes Peak attempt. Just because I've never lived in a place like this in terms of how cold the winter gets. I've always lived in warmer states, warmer places like California, Texas, Alabama, stuff like that. So, it was kind of tough figuring it out, not knowing what kind of clothes I need to wear to be able to ride comfortably. And I was riding a completely different bike because I don't know, it was just kind of stupid in hindsight, but yeah, I didn't know what I was doing for the winter. So we're talking about months worth of not riding and shitty riding because of saddle issues and this and that. And I still managed to go 10 minutes faster up Pikes Peak this year. So if I stay consistent like I am, this whole next year, then I don't think it's too much of a pipe dream to cut another 10 minutes off. I think it's very much possible. And if I end up quitting this job and getting a 24-hour-a-week job, then there's no doubt I'll do it an hour and 30 minutes. Because I'll just have so much more time to train. And the more you're on the bike, it's more like the less you're on the bike, the harder it is. It's like an exponential increase in difficulty the less you ride your bike. Because not only are you just not in tune with your bike, your pedal stroke is out of whack because you don't do it that often. But also your skin is more sensitive in the groin area. It's just all sorts of problems that start to come up the less you ride when you do ride, you know what I mean? But the more you ride your bike, the more and more you ride your bike, that exponential curve flattens out and you experience less and less problems. Almost no groin issues, your form improves, your comfortability improves, your endurance improves, obviously, right? But it's just kind of weird. The less you ride, the worse it gets. Exponentially. So yeah, I think I can do an hour and a half up Pikes Peak next year. That's the main event, guys. That's all I care about. I don't care about making a lot of money. I can't care about buying a house or having kids because it's just not possible anymore. It is. Don't get me wrong. I could use the money I've saved up and go to college and get some kind of degree that will end up, after a couple of years of working with one company, give me enough money to get into a house. And then, I could suck up to some fucking bitch on the street. Oh, look, I got a big old house. I love you, blah, blah, blah. Come over here and let's have a family. I don't know. I don't really trust them. With all this bullshit I see on the internet. And, it's just confirmed with pretty much all of the women that I've come across lately. By lately, I mean over the last couple of years. They just don't seem like good people, dude. My last renter was, she wasn't going through a divorce. She wasn't going through a separation. Her husband was just working too much. for money for their family, and she was mad about it. So yes, so this is, let me start over. I'm in my second house since moving to Colorado, second rental. My first one was $1,000 a month in a loud ass house with no central heating in Colorado, and off of one of the busiest roads I've ever seen in my life. My sleep was horrible there. I didn't even realize how bad like a good day of sleep there was until I had a good day of sleep here, because this place is so much quieter. And my rent's $600 now, so that's an extra $400 that's going in my pocket every month. It's great. But the renter was some 48-year-old Asian lady. And obviously I'm not going to say her name or anything like that, but she was pretty for her age especially. And she was super duper sweet to me when I got there. And she started being sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. I got to the point where she was, giving me the feels, like the feelies. She ran her hand through my hair one time, and she would hug me, and she started blowing kisses at me. She even said, "I love you" a couple of times. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. So here I am, 22 years old when I move in there, and this 48-year-old Asian woman is trying to cheat on her husband with me, is basically what was going on. And I was actually starting to like her. I was actually starting to enjoy going home and seeing her. And then all of a sudden, one day, she just flipped. And she just started being a mega asshole and threatening to kick me out for, like, nothing at all. Like, I complained about other people leaving a mess in the kitchen, and she would just be like, "If you got a problem with it, maybe you should leave." And this is after she would just be like, she was like my number one fan. "Oh my God, oh, Talon, oh my God, my son." She would call me her son. Yeah. So, obviously, she was trying to cheat on her husband with me. So, I knew that she wasn't that great. But regardless, she did it enough that I did start to like her. And then all of a sudden, she started acting like a bitch. And threatening to kick me out over shit. So, then I was like, well, I should have known better. And then this renter is another woman. I wonder how these women got all these houses. But this woman, our water heater went out for 4 days. And on the day before it got fixed, I sent her a text. It simply said, "No repairman tonight?" ? And this bitch sent me a 4-text rant about how I need to be more respectful and blah, blah, blah. You need to use please and thank you with me. Be very respectful to me, blah, blah. Like, Jesus Christ. She was super nice to me, but she was trying to sell me the room. And I finally got in here, and this bitch just, just take advantage of people. It's great. It's wonderful. So, something about these middle-aged women. They're just assholes, I guess. My mom's a middle-aged woman. She's nice to me, but I wonder if she's nice to everybody else. But I love my mom. But I know plenty of other women in that age group that are assholes. It's I don't know what's going on. And they're the ones that raised this generation of girls, right? The girls that are my age. So how can I be like, how do you expect me to get married? I don't believe in marriage, in all honesty. I'm not religious. I like Christianity. I think it's good. But I am not religious myself. I just wasn't raised that way. You can't expect me to devote myself to a deity who only exists in words, as it seems, when I wasn't raised that way. You know what I mean? But I think Christians are good. I think Christianity's good. You can cry about homosexuality being a sin in the books, but
I don't really care. I don't really think that's something that should be celebrated as if it's some kind of awesome thing. I think that, this is America. You can be whoever you want. But as soon as you start causing problems with the law, telling people they need to do this and that to respect you, even though they don't, all we need to do is not be assholes to each other. Like, as soon as you start trying to pass laws where if I don't call you the right whatever, then I get to go to jail. Like, go screw yourself. This is why people have an issue with that whole thing. But anyways, what was I even on about? Yeah, something about these middle-aged women, and they're the ones raising. That's what I was talking about. I don't believe in marriage. I think it's ridiculous. And I've only read Genesis. That's the only book of the Bible that I've read. So I don't even know if the word marriage is used anywhere in the Bible. I'm sure it is, but marriage was never supposed to be a bunch of paperwork you sign, with the government, and then you get tax benefits. Like, that was never what marriage was supposed to be. Like, okay, let's sign these. Like, no. It's not about papers. It's not about, it's about a union between a man and a woman, right? But I don't think it matters. So, there's really no point in talking about it. In a perfect world, you wouldn't need to sign stupid fucking papers for marriage. You would just declare it, by word of mouth. Like, we love each other. We're gonna consider ourselves married. Fuck the papers. You don't even need to. I don't even think the idea of you need to get a ring and put it on her finger. I think that's stupid too. I think the idea of even, yeah, it's whatever. Anyways, my point is, I'm not gonna fucking marry one of these spawns of all these evil middle-aged women. Just use you and then abuse you. It's literally what happened in the last few times. And I know countless stories of others. It's just, yeah. So, anyways, the point is, I care about riding my bike. That's who I am. That's what I've cared about since I was 15 years old. And nothing has brought me joy more than smashing up a climb and getting a PR, or beating somebody else up a climb. I care about cycling. I don't care about selling my soul to these businesses just to make a barely livable wage. It's not for me. And I did it since I was 16. I've either worked 2 or 3 jobs or gone to school while working a job. I've worked my ass off since I was 16. I'm only just now realizing it. The least I've worked since age 16 is now 4 days a week, 40 hours a week. This is the least I've ever worked in my life, and it feels amazing. And I want more, or less. I want even less. I want to work even less because I want to ride my bike more. Because I'm realizing that there's more to life than a stupid note from the government that's losing value at a rapid rate every year. And you have to work harder and harder just to live the same way every year and every year. Yeah, no. I'm gonna do what makes me happy, and that's ride my fucking bike. Ride my fucking bike a lot. And go climb these mountains and breathe this fresh air and stand out in the rain and dance in the snow. These people out here, they think they're gonna get anywhere just by working 7 days a week on a fucking wage. You're not gonna go. Do they not see what's coming? What's coming is nothing. That's the problem. What's coming is collapse. What's coming is poverty and starvation. That's what's coming. And I'm not going to waste my 20s working my ass off for nothing. I'm going to ride my fucking bike. And if this company doesn't want to give me $21 an hour, then I don't need them. And I don't want them. And I don't want to work with this lazy idiot of a so-called boss that I have. He litters too. Like, people who litter. If you litter, get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, how lazy and worthless are you that you can't stick a piece of trash in your fucking pocket for, 20 minutes until you find a trash can somewhere? You really just gotta throw it out into the grass so that our beautiful fucking earth is just tainted with all this shit, with all this fake trash. Yeah, people who litter disgust me, and that's what my so-called boss does, and he gets paid more than me. It's a crime. It's an injustice, you know what I mean? He's not even a US citizen. He doesn't have a citizenship. I've asked him multiple times. So when people talk about, the immigrants do all the jobs that we don't want to do. You think I don't want to go grab some baskets and kneel down and pick strawberries in a beautiful field for 10 hours a day? I mean, I don't. But if I actually cared about working anymore, like, you don't think I would do... I climb trees next to the power lines. And he's lazy. If you get him in a tree, he does a shit job. He's a lazy ass guy who gets paid more than me, and he's not even a citizen. So how are you going to expect me to work my ass off for this country when and these fucking companies, when they give non-citizens who are just absolutely shit workers and shit people more money than me? Right? It's a big eye opener, you know what I mean? Coming here was best decision so far in my life in multiple ways. And working here with this guy is a big eye opener. And seeing how expensive everything is. Like I said, a high school kid who drops groceries in a fucking bag at a grocery store gets paid as much as me when I'm climbing trees next to power lines to keep people's power on. Okay? So, screw this job. If they don't want to give me more money, I'm quitting. And I'm going to go fucking enjoy my 20s. Actually enjoy life while I still can before this fucking economy gets so bad that you simply can't afford to do anything but work. That's the way it is. And how am I supposed to have kids when I got to send them to these schools that take them away from me for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and teach them about crap? Like, they need to teach kids how to work on bicycles in school. That's what they should teach them. How to change a tire on a car, how to change the brakes, how to use your credit cards, how to work with money. They don't teach you that. They don't want to teach you that. They want you to stay worthless and in need of their intervention. That's why they teach you all this worthless crap that you don't remember. I don't remember anything I learned in school aside from basic math and English. You're talking about up until you're 18, you're spending all this time in school and you learn absolutely nothing. You waste all your childhood in this fucking school when you could be out there playing with dirt and sticks and rocks and climbing hills. Yeah. Well, I guess the video's already over. It was fun rambling. There's Meeker Peak again. Pretty mountain. I was dying right here. I did go hard all the way over the top, unlike the last time. Last time I kind of gave up right before, but this time I actually pushed over the little crest. Well, it was fun. Hope you guys are doing well, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.